talking like we were yesterday about your family. You and Paul had moved down here to the mountains?
Yeah.
Well, what did you do after you moved down here?
What did we do after we moved down here? He bought out a crop and we stayed there that year, and next year we moved down here at Lennox. I know it won't be as good as yesterday.
Then what? What's going here?
I'm not in the mood to talk.
Well, what were some of your brothers and sisters' names?
Well, my first sister was named Nellie. I got 2 little brothers dead, and I got a sister that they get grown. And my oldest sister is Belle. She married a man by the name of Frank Steelman.
They live down around Chickasha, don't they?
Yeah, they live in Chickasha. That's where they lived, out on the farm. She was a widow 14 years, and there wasn't a man in that country could outrent her. And she raised her children after he got poisoned one Christmas. He went to town, Chickasha, to buy groceries for his family, and somebody had it in for him and give him a drink of whiskey, and they had it poisoned. And when he went back home, he just passed out. And this woman where he bought the groceries seen there's something wrong with him and tried to get him to let them take him to a doctor, and he didn't do it, and he went on home, and he died about just a little while after he got there. And this woman that Aunt Belle's daughter's husband married was the first woman in their house when he died to help them. They lived there by him as friends. And that was her girl, and she died, and he married this woman, Erin. And then my next sister was Annie, Aunt Annie. And we lived out there by Sigler, and she was going to school, and she had a boyfriend named Tom Goins, and she married him. And she had 11 children.
Now, didn't,
Then my next sister was Ada.
Ada?
Ada. And she was paralyzed when she was a baby. And she didn't live to be very old. And then I'm the next girl. I'm the baby of the family. I was born on February the 14th, 1902. I weighed 4 pounds when I was born, and my brother George named me Eddie. And my brother Jake, but the two babies that's dead, I don't know if they was in the middle or kind of at the first.
What were their names?
Their names was Jimmy and Charlie. And then Brother Jake was born, and Brother Will, and Brother Tom, and George. No, George was after Jake.
Well, there was Jimmy and Charlie who died.
Yeah.
And then there was Jake.
Jake and George.
And George.
And Will.
And Will.
And Tom.
And Tom. There's 4 of your brothers that lived then.
Yeah. And there's 5 of us girls.
5 girls were Nellie.
Nellie
and she was paralyzed.
No, that's Ada.
Ada, okay. What happened to Nellie?
She died too, little.
She died as a baby?
Yeah. And Bill, and Annie, and myself, Eddie. They was 5 of us girls. That'd make 11, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, now your daddy, he was, of course, your mama died when you were about 10. Did your daddy ever remarry?
Yes, he remarried, but she married a good woman, and he spent all of his savings up and built her a fine home, and her sons run him off after he got it built.
Now, this was your daddy?
That was my daddy, and it told him if he didn't leave that they was going to take him to the river and put some rocks around his neck. And he left. And that's the reason he was on the road. He never did have nothing else because he was getting
He traveled a lot. Who did he stay with?
He just went from house to house, his kids.
Mama isn't looking into the camera. She needs a hat.
Yeah, she needs a hat.
Oh, now that'll make me look like...
No, it looks all right. Well, go ahead. Now, your daddy...
What you call her?
He just lived with his kids?
He just went from home to home, his boys and girls. He stayed with Aunt Annie a lot. But I didn't have no home. I just stayed with them, too, when I could.
You being the youngest one in the family.
I'm the baby of the family.
Baby of the family. You weren't able to keep him until he got old.
That's right.
After you married...
After I married, they lived there, my brother lived there in Stigler, and we lived out in the country. And Brother George married his sister Rosie. His daddy, your Grandpa Richardson, was run the mail house there in Stigler. And George and Rose, he married your Grandpa Richardson's daughter, Rosie. You all double cousins.
Your brother George married Rosa, who was my daddy's
sister, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
George Williams, Rosa Richardson.
Yeah.
Now, your daddy was a preacher, wasn't he?
Yes, he preached some, but he didn't. After he got older, he didn't do too much preaching. Oh, he preached all the time, every day and every night. He preached and praised God all the time.
Well, he was a big man, too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a big man. He was bald-headed.
Tall. And he died when he was on up in his 80s, wasn't he?
Almost 90.
Almost 90.
90. He died in 41, January the 16th, 1941. The year you...
Well, now, my daddy, what was some of the things he liked? He was a good businessman, wasn't he?
He was a businessman. He wasn't no farmer, stockman. But he was a businessman. That's the reason he could handle school business and stuff like that real good.
And he always took care of all the bills and provided and everything pretty good, didn't he?
He done all the business. I didn't do anything. He done all the business, paying the bills and providing for us of everything we needed.
And he served on the school board quite a long time, didn't he?
14 years. And he was a Bible teacher down there at Muse Baptist Church.
He was the Bible teacher?
For several years.
He knew the Bible pretty well, didn't he?
He knew the Bible. He sure did know the Bible. And the way I got my learning is from him when he studied, and he is a teacher. I learned a lot from him. Because I couldn't read and understand like he could.
Well, what kind of food did he like?
He liked ham and eggs. He liked fresh pork, any kind of fresh pork. He liked chicken. He liked most anything is good. But he had to have what he liked the best. He liked his milk and butter. That's what he really wanted. Like his daddy. We just had a little bit of milk, and a lot of times we didn't have enough to go around, and old bitter weeds earn it. So he told when he wanted supper, if he didn't have that milk, he wouldn't eat supper. So I let the children kind of do it out once in a while and give it to him. They told him, one of the neighbors there told him after he passed away, he told one of the neighbors, said, Evie's really been a soldier to me. Said, she's a lot better with me than Joe. He can't sit up at night. And And I done my daddy that way, taking care of both of them. And
You took care of your daddy and
yeah,
Grandpa Richardson?
Yes, I've kept them both together for a while.
Really?
And then I've kept them separate apart. They'd come, you know.
Well, now, didn't Daddy go off and work quite a bit?
Yeah,
he
he
lived
worked up here on this mountain, going over the mountain several months. But they'd have to walk sometimes from the mountain home when they get off in the weekend.
So he'd go off to California every now and then and work?
He went 7 times. I believe it's 6 trips he made to California. He sure takes care of himself, and he kept his debts paid up. But he always had money in his pocket, but he knows where that money went to every time it was spent, too. The reason he had it. We moved in this country, we had ranges, free range. We had cattle and hogs. And one day about noon, we had a sow that was missing, and we thought maybe she'd got killed or something. And one day, it's about a year, about 6 months she'd been gone when we hadn't heard from her. So I got up one day, they was eating dinner and something. I went to the front door, and she is there eating out of the hog trough.
Oh, my Lord.
And we could tell she had little pigs, and they fed her back with corn, trailed her out to her bed where she was ranged, and she really had a bunch of pigs up there. So that fall, they all went back with the dogs and caught about 4 of them, and we put them up and made meat out of them. Me and Pa was up there one time, we had to go look about them. Wasn't no boys around, and one of no wild hog got after me, and I was just about ready to take a tree, and he got there to me.
Oh, well, you worked quite a bit, didn't you, in the fields, plowing? And
Yes, he worked hard.
well, you did too, didn't you?
I sure did. I'd take Joe Allen, put him in his little wagon, and I had a mosquito bar over him, you know, keep mosquitoes off of him.
Yeah.
Kept him in the shade in that little wagon, and we'd go whole cotton until 11 o'clock, and then I'd go in, kill chickens, and churn, and get dinner ready. But I don't think I ever taken him out in the afternoon.
And you go down to the river in the wagon to wash your clothes?
Yeah, we'd wash clothes. My daddy'd get up in the morning, go build the fire, and have the water boiling. And we'd load up and go down there and wash them clothes and bring them back and hang them out. And I also washed for Grandma Carver and Jim Carver. And we just had to iron them on the wood stove.
Iron them on the wood stove, huh?
Yeah. Sure did. We raised big truck patches and canned a lot of fruit and berries. One time me and Jean went to the berry patch. We picked, I don't know, about 2 water buckets full that morning. The vines is low, and he'd crawl in under them, you know, and they just drop down, and Jean, he'd crawl in under there and pick them. And then when Pa was in California, me and you would go, or me and Alan, to pick them. Oh, didn't seem hard then, but I can look back and see how hard it was.
Would you want to do it all again?
Yeah, if I had him and my kids, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. Well, what about his family? What about Daddy's family?
He just had 2 sisters, 3 full sisters, and he had 1 half brother, and he had 3 half sisters. One was named Rosie.
One sister named Rosie, and
No, that was his own sister. Rosie and Molly had 2 sisters, and his half brother was named Johnny.
Okay, Johnny was his half brother.
Yeah, and then he had one named Nora.
So that was a half sister.
Yeah, and Samantha.
Samantha was a half sister.
And Sarah.
And Sarah.
Yeah, had 3.
Half sisters.
And Johnny was the boy.
But
They,
Rosie and Molly were his only...
yeah, and Joe was his only boy by that woman he married, those girls' mother.
He didn't have any full brothers?
No. Yeah, he had some full brothers. Uncle John was one of them.
John?
And I don't remember the other's name. Yeah, he had a full brother, your Grandpa Richardson. He had full brothers, one. But this woman he married, she had 4 children, Johnny and those 3 girls.
Purple, green.
Be quiet.
Yep. Time sure got away from us.
Well, y'all worked pretty hard, didn't you?
Oh, we didn't think it was so hard then, but it really was.
Well, now y'all didn't have a car for a long time, did you, or a truck?
No. He had a little old bitty Ford when we was at Earlsboro that we had. We brought it over to Whitesboro when we got that one that we caught the frog on, the old frog. And he traded that little Ford. He went to town after we moved to Whitesboro and bought me a little old cook stove. You could set one kettle on it and one pot, and that was all, and I didn't want it. And I told him, I said, now if you don't want me to cook, you keep me good flour and a good stove. That's 2 things I'll ask of you. Well, he traded that little old car for a big range. It was a good stove. Had a warmer on it and a hot water pot on the back. It is good. We got us a wagon then, and we moved down here at Muse and put rubber tires on it. We thought we had a good thing you could get. And in the summertime, we wanted fresh meal. We'd shuck the corn when it began to swivel and shell it and put it on the house and dry it, and then take it to the mill and get some fresh cornmeal. And we made us a gritter where you could grit them ears where there's hard, just grit fresh meal, corn.
Made your own cornmeal?
Oh, yeah. Made our own soap, everything.
Lye soap?
Everything. We canned everything. We killed 3 big hogs. One of them, we got him in the barrel and couldn't turn him. They have to take him out. He used to smoke that ham meat. And one of the kids said, Mom, how do you do that? I wish we had some now. They just had some of that smoked meat like we used to have. You can't get it like that anymore in these stores much.
But you wouldn't mind doing it all again if you had to, huh?
No.
You had a good husband and
I had a good husband. Wasn't no fussing, just quiet around the house. And he didn't care where I went. But he wanted to know, if everything's all right.
Bob, won't you tell me about the time you were saved? What happened when you were saved?
Well, I'm just a happy person. We lived at Eufaula, there on that Indian's place when I was saved. They had a meeting there, in the Arbor meeting there, and around there close, and we went a few nights. But the preacher told us we just go out, and find a place and pray. So one morning I got the Lord is dwelling with me, and I went to bed and I was crying when my dad come in and saw me, and he asked me what was wrong with me. And I told him I was thinking about my sisters in the hospital. So I just didn't get relief, and after he went out, I thought I'd do what the preacher told me to do. I went down by the creek there, out in the woods, and he told us to find a place and pray. So there's a log laying there, and I started to go there where this log was and kneel down, and that's when the Lord come in my heart. It's just like a big puff of wind, and it come and it went. I didn't know where it went, nor where it come from. But I was all right then. That just all left me. And that's never left me from that time till now. Of course, you know, Christians will get upset and get a little angry once in a while. But I still got that.
Well, how about Paul? What about his salvation experience?
Well, I'd take Ermedy and go to Sunday school, and he wouldn't go. But then after we moved up here, we went to a holiness meeting down here at Lennox. An Indian preacher was a preacher. And he told me, that looked like, I guess it was Ryan. He wanted to, he had woke up one night and thought I was in a cage with some lions. And when he did wake up and I wasn't, and then on Sunday a preacher came down from Tallahassee that had that place where we lived in charge of the place. And I think he ate dinner with us, and he is talking to your dad, and he is talking to him about his condition, and the preacher told him, said, you ain't nothing but a Baptist. And after that, well, the next Sunday or the next Sunday after that, he told me, he said, you know, Eddie, if I'd have thought about it, I'd had that preacher take me and baptize me. And it wasn't long then until he went down here at this Baptist church and joined the church and was baptized on Sunday, and he was the only one who was baptized.
How old was he then?
I don't know. It was in about 1936, I believe. Because Joe Seal was born in 1936, and she was a baby.
She was a baby? And
It must have been 1936 or 1937. It's one of them. About 1936.
Joe Seal was born in 35.
Yeah, Joe Seal was born in
35.
35. Well, it was somewhere along there.
Well, which of your kids was the best kid, you think?
Well, that's a hard question to ask me. They're all good. Some of them was a little contrary once in a while, but they was all good kids when you just clean them down to what you ought to.
So what was the sweetest one, though? Put it that way.
Well, I couldn't tell no difference. Every one I had got sweeter all the time. And Paul told me when Alan was born, he said, that's the prettiest baby I ever seen. Now I'm going to name this, and you've named them all, but I'm going to name this. I said, all right.
And he actually named him Alan Joe, didn't he?
That's right. He named him Alan. Erm didn't put that Joe on it. He said, I'm going to name him Alan. I said, all right. Erm didn't put the Joe on it.
Well, how did she get in on this?
Well, there wasn't nobody to send his name in or nothing but Irma did.
How old was she then?
I don't know. She's the first baby.
17. I delivered Joe Allen.
Oh, you didn't do all of it.
Well, I tied the cord, tied it, and cut it, and had him wrapped up in a blanket when Maud Galbraith and Miss Campaign got to the house.
Well, I spanked him as the one that made him get his breath. When I slapped him good, he hollered.
Mama took him by the heels and lifted him up.
Well, anyway, it's all over with.
So there wasn't a doctor or a midwife there? When
I've had, there's 3 or 4 of my children that there's not been no help there, and I never went to a hospital with any of the 8.
Never had one delivered in the hospital?
No, I never had a baby bed. Ever did have a baby bed with any of them. slept with all of them.
And you never had a doctor? Yeah, some of them you didn't even have a doctor, huh?
Jack was 3 months old, or 3 days old, or 3 hours old when the doctor got there, and he weighed 12 pounds. And Joe Seals, she weighed about 8 something, and she wasn't no doctor there. He come, but he didn't get back in time. So I had 8 children, and Billy Joe was the last girl, and she didn't live to be 6 months old, like in 3 days being 6 months old. And you was the last baby, and the old mockingbird sung all night. That old doctor said, I didn't know mockingbirds sang all night, but they sung all night. So, that's it. So,
Well, that's a lot of kids, Mom.
Mom, what kind of toys did we play with when we was babies?
do what?
What did we play with when we were babies?
Old shoe, they'd set Ermedine down, Joe Seal down on the floor and give her an old shoe or an old rag, and she'd just sit there and go rock herself to sleep. Or if Grandpa'd put her on the bed, she'd rock herself to sleep. And all the kids had to hold her 5 minutes apiece of the evenings of the night by the fireplace. They'd all want her. He'd give them 5 minutes around, and then that's it.
What about the time that I stood up and went to sleep and fell on the fireplace on the floor?
Burnt your feet, you like to burn up. And
Well, what was you doing when I was standing there waiting?
I was cooking supper for that bunch. That's when Jim was in there, in his children, I believe. That's how come your Grandpa Richardson's foot be crippled. It was burned off when he was a baby, crawled in fire.
Who pulled me out?
Your daddy, I guess. I don't really remember.
He's sitting in the rocking chair holding Jean. And I was standing there waiting to get me a dish of blackberries.
But Paul was the proudest thing when Jean was born. He wanted him to, I couldn't hardly, he wouldn't, well, we just thought a long time before we got a name for him. And he said, I think I'm going to call him Gene, because my mama used to make me Gene Pants, but I want another name to go with it. And he got the paper and he found Kenneth, and we named him Gene Kenneth. He was born about 11:30 one morning, and it was just drizzling rain.
Who'd you name me after?
Yeah, I named you after my Aunt Dean, lived in Missouri. And we wanted another name to go with you, and we had a stove was named Irma.
No wonder she's such
What
a good
kind of
cook.
a stove?
Just a gas stove.
Gas heater?
Just something like that.
Gas heater.
That was the brand of it on the front of it.
That made me a hot number, didn't it?
I guess it did.
Well, who did you depend on with all these kids to do your grocery shopping, take the eggs to town, parade them out?
Well, Grandpa Richard, when he was there, he'd feed the chickens of it, and he'd go shell a bucket of corn before dark, and then he'd feed them chickens. And Gene hunted a lot. Gene found Jim Carver's old hog up there on the mountain 2 o'clock one morning. He come back. Next day they went up there and got him and brought him home, and they cleaned him for him. He'd go up on that second mountain by himself at night.
Did you ever wear overalls?
Just one picked berries or fed the cows.
You didn't let your girls wear.
The only
Man.
trouble I had with them 2 grandpas is your Grandpa Richardson wanted milk all the time and butter, and he didn't want nobody messing with the milk. And one Sunday, my daddy come in hungry, and he was trying to find him something to eat, and we had a hall in the house, and we had our milk table out there on that hall with rags around it to keep it cool. And your Grandpa Richardson run my daddy out of that milk, wouldn't let him have any of it. He said that was for supper.
Mom, Tell me all that you remember about your mother.
Oh, my mama, I don't know too much about my mama. I can't remember. Only the day she passed away is on Saturday. And I had a chill that day, and she'd been giving me chill tonic. She said, well, honey, if you'd taken your chill tonic, you wouldn't have had this. And about that time, I heard something went like a little piece of the wind whipped up. And Aunt Rosie come in, and Tom, that's my sister's husband, and she had just gone. And they had to cut her sleeves off her arms. She was 58 years old when she died. And she had 11 children.
11 children?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
All?
Yeah, that's a lot of them. 7.
And she was only married once, wasn't she, to your
That's right.
daddy?
That's right.
So she had all 11 children by your daddy.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the reason I think we ought to live this strict life.
Well, we named them. We named your brothers, Charlie and Johnny, who died. And then
No,
Jay,
them wasn't my brother's children. My brothers was Jimmy and Charlie, the
Jimmy
babies that died, I
and
guess.
Charlie, and then Jake and Will and George.
Yeah.
Tom.
And Tom was 6.
Yeah.
And then the girls was
Aunt Belle. Nellie's the first baby. Nellie.
Nellie. Now she was paralyzed, wasn't she?
No, that was Zadie.
Ada was paralyzed, and she stayed in that Enid school, didn't she?
No, she was in at Enid in the institution.
Yeah, the Enid school.
Yeah.
So the girls, there was Belle.
That was Nellie, Belle, Annie, Edie, and Eddie.
5.
5 girls.
That's 11 kids, yeah.
I'm the baby of the family, and they're all gone now. I ain't got no relation at all, only my children.
Well, do they know what made Ada paralyzed?
She had, I forget now what they call it. Paralysis.
Was she paralyzed when she was a baby?
Baby, she has had paralysis.
And then Nellie, she died pretty young, didn't
Yeah, she died young, but I don't know how young she was.
Did she have any children?
I don't know. She was a baby, I guess. I didn't have no history left of my family. See, I was a baby and I didn't keep up with
You don't
nothing.
remember much about your mother, then?
I don't know a thing about my mother. I know we lived out in the country. I don't remember.
She was a baby.
Now, I've got people that remembers her. Aunt Cleo, see, her and Brother Will lived there, and they know about Mama all the time. Brother George, you ain't Annie. I just know she is a good mother. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to tell about Jean when we lived up on the bridge. You know, we moved from Chakotay down to Cherry Hill. I think's the name of the little old place over there by the river bridge. And he went, George and one of his friends was down from Aztec. They worked in the oil field, and they liked Gene. They wanted him. They come down that far to see him, and he'd went out in the blackberry patch one morning to do something, and he had his britches down, and he came back running to them, and he said he seen a big black snake out there. He almost sat down on that black snake.
He may have said it on there.
That may be what's wrong with him
Oh,
Snake may still be around here somewhere.
And they sure done some laughing when he come back. He was scared.
Yeah, what about when he started the school? He didn't want to
Oh,
stay.
yeah, we all sent our kids to start 'em early to school, and Ermdine and Jean was going to school, and Jean taking notion he'd come back home. And Pa went and got him and he beat Pa home. And he got in a rain barrel, and they looked for him and looked for him, and that old man that hung around our store found him. He'd got down in a rain barrel.
Steve Little, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Pa got him out and taken him right back up there. And Jerry, you used to be too pretty mischievous when we started you out.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get you out from under the school floor to go in when the books would take up.
I know it.
And the teacher got to telling you she's going to let you ring the bell. And she finally got you to come out like that.
I remember the time that the superintendent told Joe Allen and Otis Dukes to go out and get me.
Yeah.
And I crawled under the gymnasium, and Joe Allen sent Otis under there to crawling under there to get me. And I hit him in the side of the head with the board. They still ain't got me.
And you just tried to slip off one April Fool's Day at school, and
I used to go out there and
the teacher put a note in her bucket that she was sending some coffee back from the store to us, but on the kids that going down that way. And the note was in the bucket when we got home. That she went on a trip with a school kid, and they didn't come to school.
Well, won't you tell me how y'all used to cure that meat when you killed those
Oh,
dogs?
gracious, that'd be a long, I don't really know what.
Did you can the meat or did you cure it?
Oh, yeah, I can a lot of that ham meat. I know about what to do about that.
On what day of the week usually Daddy would decide to do the butchering of the hog?
About 6 o'clock some evening.
Now on Saturday?
Maybe on Saturday or something late, like he never. Then on Saturday, he had to go to church, and there was all that meat to work up and take care of. And I'd just take them hams and cut them up in pretty good chunks. Put about a gallon or 2 gallons of lard in the pot and get it hot. And build a little fire out of oak chips.
Uh-huh.
Maybe have some a little larger. And he made me a paddle out of a board, oak board. And then we'd put that meat in the pot and let it cook slow. And when that meat got up brown from on the top, we'd dip the meat out and put it in fruit jars, then pour a cup of that hot grease on it and turn it upside down, seal it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best meat I ever eat. Cook
Yeah.
all the water out of it.
I remember Mama doing sausage like that.
Well, we done sausage that way too. Oh, it's
You'd
good.
make cracklings.
Oh,
You'd
yeah.
render your own lard.
I rendered up all of our lard and cracklings, and then I'd save some for crackling bread, the best, and then I'd make soap out of the rest of it.
Made lye soap. Boy, that's good soap.
Yeah, white.
We'd get you clean. Did you know they're starting to use that again?
We washed our kids' heads with it.
I made it.
Some doctors saying that may be the best soap that was ever made.
Well, we washed our kids' hair, and they're just slick and pretty.
Well, now how did you make hominy?
Oh, Lordy. I'd put a little lye in it and ashes.
Well, how did you start? You raised your own corn, you got the dried corn?
When it gets dry, we'd get that, it's got the broad grain, and
Pretty much stuff.
just put it in the pot with some water and started to cooking outside in a big pot.
Big wash pot?
Yeah, and then when it got where that hull had come off, we'd wash it, and
Well,
then
you put, what kind of lye did you put in it?
just a lye like you buy to make
Three oak
soap.
ashes. Let them rain in a rain barrel for about a week.
And then I'd make lye out of the ashes, put them in there, and when it rains, there'd be a place for the lye to come out.
Get that brown water off.
That's what we skint the
Put
corn
the
in.
ashes in a rain barrel
Yeah, just any kind of barrel that you could hold ashes.
and let it set how long?
Well, it had to have rain on it or water one to get the lye out of the ashes.
Then you dip the water off.
And that's what we scrubbed our floors with, was lye from that ashes.
Does that kill germs?
Well, sure it does.
We've used sand to scrub with too.
Yeah, white sand will make your floors white. It cuts all that grease off of
Now,
it.
anyway, when you're fixing this hominy, you put the ash, this lye you made, you put it in the pot,
Yeah, put it in a pot, tie it up and put it in the pot.
tie it in a rag, and drop it down in the pot that had the corn and the water in it.
Yeah, and boil it till it's
Boil thunder out of it.
till that little skin, you know, and then you
Uh-huh.
cook it some more.
Rinsed it and cooked it.
And I've canned a lot of it. But cold winter nights, we'd bring it in there and that, you know, around the fireplace and eat hominy. All the kids like that hominy.
Put bacon grease and pepper on it, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, it sounds good.
We used to bake sweet potatoes with a half bushel.
Now, you cleaned your floor, you said sometimes, that lye that you made.
Yeah.
What did you clean? Did you have bed bugs or anything like that in the house?
Oh, Lordy, don't name bed bugs. We couldn't keep them. We'd have to clean house about 3 times a year, scald everything, you know. Till they got that DDT out, and then, boy, we just got rid of them. We pulled a lot of hay out of the garden where it was big and make new hay beds.
You didn't have regular mattresses, cotton mattresses?
No, we had some, but not enough.
Cotton is
Our
hard to
corn
get.
shucks make good.
Oh, yeah, we'd use corn shucks, too, for...
That may have been the reason you had bed bugs.
No, no.
Raised their own geese.
And we had geese, and the kids would have to hold their legs, you know, and they'd turn them loose, and they'd bite me in the back.
No, you got his.
Look, about once a year, twice a year, we had to pick them. Gene had a lot of geese, and he went selling his geese to the niggers down there on Thanksgiving and holidays, you know, they'd want.
Well, did y'all ever y'all ever ate the organ meat on the hogs, did you? The heart and the
Oh, yeah.
liver and stuff?
Yeah, the heart's good.
Did y'all eat that or did y'all give it away?
Well, the head, we always give it away most of the time, but I make souse meat out of it. I had enough of them. The week your Grandpa Richardson passed away, we killed hogs then, and I made a big crock full of that head cheese.
How do you make that head cheese?
You just cook your hog feet and head ears, hog ears, and tongue. Clean the tongue, and cook it all together. You
The
take
meat off the head, did you cook that
well,
too?
you take your jolts off, you know, that's what makes joel meat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd cook that real tender and then pull that meat off and season it up.
Then you cook the whole head?
Yeah. Take the eyes out of it.
And then after you got all this meat cooked, what did you do?
Well, a lot of times we'd put it in bags and hang it in the smokehouse. Dry it out and eat it up.
I don't see how y'all can stand that yucky stuff.
But how did you make it into a loaf, like
Oh yeah,
slice it?
yeah, you could mold it any way you wanted it, or you could put it in rounds. I'd make sacks out of muslin and round, you know, and then stuff that full of sausage or whatever. And then hang it up without and let it dry.
I do.
Was Daddy much of a hunter?
No.
But he could always tell them where to go get
He
the-
liked to hunt a little bit, but never did kill anything much. Never did kill deer as long as we lived down there.
Well, who's the best hunters in the family?
Joel and Jean,
Who liked the fish?
Paul did.
Did Jerry do any fishing or hunting?
Yeah, Jerry done some fishing, but not like Joel and Jean.
What about Jack?
Jack never did fish very much. He never did hunt very much.
Well, what Jack liked to do?
He liked to read.
That's just gonna stink.
He read a lot. That morning, but I'd met Paul, you know, a long time ago when I was 6 years old.
You had?
Yeah.
Where was this now?
Stigler. Stigler, Oklahoma. We lived out in the valley, kind of like this, and they lived in town in Stigler. My brother George married Joe's sister.
You were born, though, in Russellville, Arkansas.
I was born in Russellville, Arkansas.
And your folks moved to Stigler?
My daddy and them moved out and come to Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
I was 6 years old.
Okay, then what? It was you and your...
Well, my mother died when I was about 10, August 11, and then...
she died in Arkansas?
No, she died in Oklahoma.
Oh, in Oklahoma.
At Stigler.
Okay. And she's buried there at that Antioch Cemetery?
Yeah, she's buried in Antioch. And
Okay.
Sister Annie's got a little boy that's buried there.
And you met Paul when you were about 6?
Yeah, and I married him when I was 17. I was almost 18.
So where did you go when you were a teenager?
Well, I just lived with my folks. Lived with Aunt Annie.
After your mother died, you didn't stay at home?
No, I stayed with a blind woman when I had the flu, and I stayed with another woman down around Cameron, Arkansas.
Cameron, Oklahoma.
Yeah. And then I went from there I was with Aunt Annie when Joe asked me to marry him.
Where was this?
That was at Bartlesville. He was going to go, soldiers went off on trains then instead of airplanes. And I was going to school, but I went with him to the train that morning and didn't go to school. And then he asked me would I marry him when he got back, and I told him I would. And
when did you go to Hackett, Arkansas?
I went after my mother. I went down there to stay with a woman called Aunt Ida South.
And you worked for her?
She just taught me to cook and can and stuff like that. We just had her and Mr. South together. Her daughter, she just had one daughter, and he was named Farr, Troy Farr.
And you helped take care of him?
Yeah, she taught me a lot of things.
And then where did you go? You went to live with Aunt Annie?
Yeah, Clear Lake, over here by Howell, where my dad buried me.
Clear Lake, over by Howell, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I went to school there, and that's my dad's buried there at that little graveyard over there at Mountain View. I went to school there.
Okay, how old were you when you left Aunt Annie's and you went? That's where you met Paul, when you lived with Aunt Annie in Bartlesville.
In Bartlesville, I was about 15.
Okay, it's 15, and this was along 19.
But he was gone nearly 3 or 4 years.
He went into the army and he went to France,
Yes,
World War I.
Yeah, he was in World War I.
Okay, and he wrote to you while he was overseas.
Yes, he wrote to me.
And then when he came home from the army, where did you meet him?
I was at my brother Will's at Hackett, Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
And I was in the cotton patch. We like one row, having Uncle Will's cotton rolled out when they come and told me that he'd come in.
Uh-huh.
And my dad said, well, all he hated about it, he didn't get his cotton chopped out.
Okay, Laura,
Yeah.
Okay, and then you met, Paul was back from World War I, and y'all got married where?
At Hackett, Arkansas.
Hackett, Arkansas, and this was 19...
It was in June. Ermdene was born in 1920.
It was June of 1919.
1919 when we was married.
And from Hackett, Arkansas, where did you go?
Bartlesville. I went up to Henrietta to see George and Ruby, and then when he went up and got a job, we went there, and then he went up to Bartlesville and got a job, and they put me on the bus, and I went up there then, and we went into town, got our cooking stuff, and he rented a little house, and we lived there a long time, and that's where Ermdene was born. And then he went from there back down in the valley around, forget the name, not Shawnee, but I keep
Earlsboro?
No, just down below Shakota.
Old Napa?
That's Old Napa. Old Napa's Shakota.
Okay, Paul left, y'all.
Follow.
Paul left his job in Bartlesville and decided he wanted to farm. And
Yeah,
he went down
and
to
he rented a farm from an old Indian, old-time Indian down there on the river from Eufaula.
Yeah.
And then we went from there to Shakota where Gene and Eunice was born.
Uh-huh. And then you went where? You farmed there?
Then we went to the oil fields. We put that store in up there where Jack was born.
That was up around the St. Louis, Earlsboro.
No, that's
Raytown?
Yeah. And we have a baby there during Carnival graveyard.
Okay, your
Billy
baby,
Joe.
what was her name?
Billy Joe.
Billy Joe or Betty Joe?
Billy Joe. We named her Betty Joe, but Grandpa Richard wanted to name her Billy. He didn't like Joe. Billy Joe. We call her Billy. Billy Joe. So we got it down. We stayed there till the oil fields went down, then we moved to Whitesburg.
Y'all had a cafe there
At where Jack was born, I had a little short order joint there, pies, just short order.
you made pies.
Make pies and hot dogs and hot cakes for breakfast and bacon and whatever. And then
Did Grandpa Richardson live there with you then?
yes, but he went to Asher and put him up a little joint down there.
Now, I understand he was a pretty good cook.
He was.
His name was Robert Lee Richardson.
Yes, he used to make this.
And he had a club foot.
Yes, he used to make a soup he called, I forget what he called it now, but he sold a lot of that. It was hot and they all liked it. He put that red pepper in it.
He made buttermilk.
Mulligan, he called it mulligan stew.
He made buttermilk. Good buttermilk.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Mom?
We've all had each other. And also, kind of act like
Give them a hug like you love them, Mom.
All right, act like you love them.
I love both of them.
Careful.
Oh, so glad it makes me feel so good.
You look so pretty.
I'm so glad you're all come.
Like that
Wonderful,
dress.
wonderful.
Ron, where y'all going?
That's the blessings that come to you when you're good. Oh, did you get them all?
Stay away from me, I'm not too.
All right.
I'll tell you what, you know the Indians, when anything's alike, they'll say we sing ties. Yeah,
From my mom?
yeah we sing ties.
Who started this over here at that station, mate?
When they think anything sing tie, you know, sing tie, you know,
Yeah.
they sing tie.
That's pretty dress. Where'd you get that?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You're a pretty son, too.
Where'd you get that?
When I get out of my life, staying with them for 20 years, you don't get them up where they can walk.
I'm not like Dr.
I'm not giving up none of it.
Getting them where they walk good, so sometimes it takes till they're 21 too, you know.
Yeah, and then I'll
Just because you're in pool like that, that's why I do it like that.
Y'all got some squirrels stuffed in there?
Well, I got some squirrel, but I don't think they cooked them. They have the house.
Well, we'll cook them tonight or tomorrow. Joe's got his stuff out there.
Well, let's all go in here and see what we can find to eat.
Yeah,
I gotta go get my
lots of
makeup out of
food
my
here.
eyes.
Come on. You want me to help you get in there?
No.
Well, we'll go fall down together.
Be careful, Ma.
You want me to get a hold of you and get you back over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate this. I've been sitting around a little bit too much this morning.
Oh, you stayed up too late last night.
Night before last.
Where'd Joe get in?
Well, got two more.
He came on Thursday.
And
You,
yeah, John.
That's very good.
I'm gonna wash my hands.
Y'all been keeping the dishes warm?
Yeah.
I got you some paper plates out in the car.
Good.
The paper cups and the
Good.
plastic silverware. I knew I could depend on you. I knew I could depend on you.
Don't get it. Well, I tell you what.
Billy Craig.
You come in. My baby sat in the car.
I did. It's sitting by the...
Daddy. Daddy. Daddy, look. Daddy. Daddy, get a picture of me.
Talk to you.
Say hi. Talk to him. Say hi. Gotcha.
What is your name?
Say, get that thing away from me, Jerry.
Hi, Tracy. Why don't you say something to me?
You're gonna be on TV, Tracy.
Tracy.
Don't look at me. Daddy. Dad. Daddy.
What? Bonnie.
Wait, I can't wait till I do something for TV.
Hi, Brian. How you been doing?
Fine? Yeah.
You going to school now?
Yeah.
Well, you're about in the 2nd grade, aren't you?
Third.
3rd grade?
Yeah.
Golly. Where do you go to school?
What's first?
Whitesboro. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Who's your teacher?
I need to straighten the back for that. I don't know her name yet.
What's your favorite subject?
The devil. Playing.
It's what?
Spelling.
Spelling. You like spelling?
Yeah.
What else do you like?
Handwriting.
Handwriting? That's good.
Let's see if I can work on my hands again.
I bet you make good grades.
Yeah.
I bet you make good grades, don't you? Well, you're a tough kitty. Where do you go to school, Ray? What's your favorite subject?
Oh.
What's girlfriend's name, Ray?
Oh, I don't have a girlfriend right now.
Did you tell Dawson what kind of car you got?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there.
There was. You better watch what you look at. I'm doing fine. Down in there cooking.
Where you going?
No, I didn't bring it. What have you been doing? Right. Look up, Linda. Somebody said you're doing real well. You enjoy it?
Yeah, I did a
Yes, sir.
and he was never out there. Cheryl, let me hold it. You do Seal. Well, good. I thought maybe you said about something. Wish I know way. You look nice. On the way out, yes, we haven't seen her. An hour or two ago, they said, well, they should be here any minute now. Oh, they called and still hadn't seen her. Did Abby come? No.